Hey everyone, welcome back to the blog. This Fitness Friday session is something the GoDash team has been so excited about for a couple weeks now. Today we have Taylor, and I'm going to be speaking to her. We've been working with her since the beginning of GoDash, and we're just so excited that she's here. So Taylor, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hello, guys. My name is Taylor Rae Almonte, and I am a Brooklyn-based actor, athlete, and activist, a boxing trainer, personal trainer, and especially during this quarantine time where we are all home, have been transitioning a lot to more activism work in light of Black Lives Matter. And yeah, that's it. That's my short little intro.
Love it. So like you mentioned, today's topic, Black Lives Matter movement, racism, and how small businesses play into that is something that I'm really excited that GoDash is speaking about, and we're just so grateful that you're willing to speak to us too. So can you tell me a little bit more about what you've been doing during this time? Wow, words hard right now. What you've been doing during this movement, what podcasts you've spoken on. I've seen your stories and you've shared a lot of resources. So what have you found most helpful when sharing things?
For sure. So, me personally, I have a weekly newsletter. I started a newsletter kind of right at the beginning of quarantine because I was constantly teaching different classes. I didn't have like a set schedule like I did when I was at my studio. So, I was sharing like wellness tips and stuff like that. Transition that into a Black Lives Matter newsletter. So, all of my classes have a component of activism or they're donation based or something. So I really wanted to include that, but I also focus every week on a different topic. So like a different facet of racism or this movement or organizations to donate to. And I think overall, my favorite resources are the ones that are super specific. I think that if you Google Black Lives Matter, there's like so much content that it can be really overwhelming. So what I always tell people is like start where you are. So for me, like I love fitness, I'm an actor, and so I'm going to look at things maybe that are close to me. My fiance is Korean, Chinese, and Puerto Rican, so we talk a lot about our differences, him being Asian, me and Latino, me being Black and Latina. So like starting, and we're learning more about that together, like start where you are, things that might like affect your life or people that you know or your friends, or even if it's just like an area that sparks interest. So I would say it's kind of a general answer, but I think my favorite resources are the ones that are really specific and the ones that like speak to you as an individual that you feel most motivated to contribute to or learn more about.
No, that makes so much sense because I feel like it is overwhelming if you just type in Google Black Lives Matter, a million resources come up. So really narrowing down that, like you said, is so helpful. And you mentioned your newsletter, and we've seen how social media has really helped this movement and how it can be used to help the movement. Can you talk a little bit about how small businesses such as GoDash with a predominantly white following can help the movement and what we should be posting on our platform and what we shouldn't be posting?
Yeah, I think for me, if I look at a social media feed and I'm like, a company that I want to work with, or even more nerve-wracking for me is a company that I have worked with. Like I've associated myself with this company maybe in the last like few months or year and like maybe met like really lovely people. But then if I look at their feed and I'm like, do they support Black Lives Matter? Are they being vocal? Are they using their platform? And like every time I'm like swiping down looking to find that answer, it's like causes me a lot of anxiety. I think my favorite companies to work with are the ones that like I literally don't have to look far. I open up their website. Like I just bought this shirt this week, and when I was opening up the website, on the top of it, the company, it says Black Lives Matter. Click here for like what we're doing. Like it's not a Black owned company. They're making different moves to, change the diversity of their team. But like just the fact that it's like super clear, whether it's on your website, on your social media platform, like where you stand, that's super important to me.
Mhm.
I also think doing things that like saying Black Lives Matter, we support this, that's beautiful. That's like amazing. That's like a great first step. But I think that doing things like if you're doing a giveaway, make it for a Black owned business because that's going to bring business to their page. These are going to be Black people, Black entrepreneurs with maybe a team that has other people of color on it, Black people, Asian people, Latino people, whatever it might be, that are being elevated with notoriety, with money, with all of those things that are going to really affect their business. So I think like including Black owned businesses into your giveaways, doing like pass the mic kind of takeovers where like
Mhm.
a Black owned business that might sell something that like goes really well with your product, that might not be like a competitor, but like a water bottle that looks like amazing in your bags or something, and doing like some kind of collaboration with them. Like I think it's just overall, it took hundreds of years to create the society that we live in now. It's going to take hundreds of years to dismantle that system. And so it's like an ongoing thing. And I just think it's important that when I look at content from a company, I see that like they're not going back to normal. It's like intertwined with everything they're doing is like a thoughtfulness about this movement.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. And you talked a little bit about how you looked at partnerships in the past. So going forward, have you changed your approach at all? I know it's been maybe a month or so since everything has really ramped up, but have you had any partnerships reach out and you've been like, maybe not? Or have you changed your personal approach when reaching out to brands as well?
Yeah, I think for me, me as an individual, like my platform has like bumped up by thousands of followers during this moment because a lot of people are looking for more resources and to listen to more voices. And I think that's awesome. But I also feel like a sense of responsibility that if I am working with a business, I don't ever want to feel like feel really regretful that I didn't do my due diligence to try and do my best to like know what that company stands for. So when I'm supporting it to the people that follow me, that they like know that they can trust me.
Mhm.
So definitely starting out with that preliminary email, like what are you doing? What's your stance on this moment, on this movement, on systemic racism as a whole? And whether it's a business of two people that they're like, we can only afford to contribute $100 to this organization, but we are doing all these other things. That's like beautiful. I'm never going to be like, that's not enough.
Mhm.
But if it's like a massive company and I know that, you know, how are your hiring practices changing? How are you going to measure your success in that area? If it's again a massive company, that's like going to be different questions depending on the size and the scale and how old they are and all that stuff. But asking those questions, and unfortunately, I have had some partnerships that afterwards there was like other things that they were posting that made me feel really uncomfortable. And some people are, it's a difficult time because it's really easy to have someone like me who is educated on what's going on right now, who likes to use my voice, who has a solid following, who is a Black woman, but I'm also like uh fun, and I'm a fun trainer, and I'm like pretty and thin and all these things that people feel really comfortable with.
Mhm.
And that might not mean that they like actually want to do work to change the world. It's easy to be like, Taylor, take over our platform. That was enough, you
Mhm.
know? And so it's really hard because I can only do so much. I can't I can't change a company. But it is really important to me to continue to investigate those things and have those conversations, and hopefully work with companies that if I do see something that rubs me the wrong way or makes me feel uncomfortable, that we can have those conversations
No,
to learn more. Yeah.
that makes a lot of sense. And for those companies, we've seen how some companies have really been exposed and called out for not doing enough, like major brands. So, what do you do, and how can you, if at all, convince people that the Black Lives movement isn't like Black Lives Matter movement isn't just like a moment. It is this momentum and this continuum for years, like you talked about. And it's a nonpartisan issue, it's a human issue, it's all those things. So, how can we avoid optical allyship? Because I know that's something that everybody's wondering. I've wondered it myself because it's this fine line that we've talked about. And then also, what is the best way to be an ally during this time?
Yeah, for sure. So I think I want to answer all the different parts of
Yeah.
your question. I think that let's start with optical allyship.
Mhm.
So I think that that is a kind of complex uh, question that I am still wrapping my head around, because I think that if you're a person, you're reposting and reposting and posting all these things on social media. This is optical allyship, performative allyship, that you might see, this person posting all these things, but maybe they are contributing by, maybe they're like not that nice in real life. Maybe they do things that aren't super cool. Maybe they're like not contributing money toward any Black owned businesses and they genuinely don't want to, like they don't care. They're
Mhm.
just like going about their normal life, but they know if they don't post on social media that they might be called out, whether that's a business or a person, but they're just like doing it so they can be like, okay, check that off. We talked about this and like, let's keep doing business as usual. So just to clarify for anyone that's like, what even is optical allyship? For me, I feel like that's what it is. They're just like checking off a box, a person, a company, whatever. We did it. We talked about Black Lives Matter. Let's keep moving. And I think it is painful and hurtful for me as a person that's like consuming the content or the information that that company shares. Like on July 4th, I made a post talking about the fact that like when Independence Day was founded, slavery was still legal. And so I think that that's like a really complex conversation. And I really appreciated companies that were like, hey, we're still celebrating that, we are in this moment in this country that it's a civic and a cultural reckoning where we're like learning a lot and like spend this holiday or this like time off having these conversations, but like we recognize it's complex. I appreciated that so much. Whereas I feel like other companies just completely ignored the complexities of that day. And it makes it hard to not feel that, oh, well, they were like talking about really championing Black people the other day. So do they not know? Do they not care? And how could someone even have this conversation to bring this to someone's attention? Because
Mhm.
the thing with talking about racism, and kind of goes into your next question, the thing about talking about racism is it's super hard. And many times people don't feel that they don't have the language to express what they're trying to say because we're not used to talking about it.
Mhm.
Like so many times when people say like a Black person and a white person, they'll say like Black. Like they like whisper it because they almost don't know, like, can I say Black? Do I say Black? Do I say African American? Am I gonna mess up? Am I gonna offend someone? And those things are completely valid because the language you use is super important. But I think we have to like have the conversations. And going into allyship, which was like your second part, I think that what's super important when we talk about allyship is being vulnerable to make mistakes and to apologize for them.
Mhm.
Saying the thing and then being like, huh, this person said that that was not cool because this, or this. That's awesome because I'm growing. Like, even me as a Black person, like, Blackness isn't a monolith. It's not just like, when you're Black, you know it all. And I speak for all Black people,
Mhm.
but I'm constantly learning. I might say something and then, oh, wow, maybe I should have said it differently or better or been more inclusive.
Mhm.
So I think super important rule of allyship is be willing to make mistakes, to take accountability for them, to apologize for them. Like that's apologizing is so easy and people make it feel so hard.
Mhm.
But if you're not an expert on something, you make a mistake and you just apologize and keep going. So I
Mhm.
think that's super important. I think believing people is super important, even if you're not 100% educated on what they're talking about or understand even like maybe some of the terms they used or their experience. Believing them, and then going into the third thing, educating yourself more on it
Mhm.
instead of making people defend their humanity and defend their experience. And I think education is such an answer when it comes to like convincing people that this is an important movement. I think there is so much education at our fingertips. And if you're seeing all the things on social media, on TV, um, literally like every single platform, whether it's like Netflix or Hulu or Apple or iTunes or whatever, they all are highlighting like documentaries to watch, books to read, like it's everywhere you look. And if you're not educating yourself on it and you don't want to know that, I can't convince you to, to do that, because as soon as you start learning, you're going to see that this issue is important for everyone. So believing people, continuing to learn, be willing to make mistakes. And then my last fave tip on being a good ally is not to tone police. And tone policing is just like, if someone is expressing something in a way and you don't feel comfortable with the way that they're saying it, that still can't take away from the content of what they're saying. Because people, when you're grieving, when you're mourning, when you feel injustice, when you're heartbroken, when you're enraged, you're not going to be at your peak eloquence. And people can't be expected to be at their peak eloquence. We've all had moments in a fight with a loved one, or, whatever it might be, that you're so emotional that you're like, I can't say this any better, but I need you to hear me. And I think that needs to be such the focus, hearing people and listening to what they're saying, instead of being so focused on, oh, well, they're cursing or they're yelling or they're crying, and I don't like that. Because it's not easy to talk about things that are hard. So I think I answered all the parts.
Definitely. Yeah, you touched on everything. And I really liked what you said. It is so hard and it's really emotional to go through this and to broach these conversations and really have the uncomfortable conversations that some people still aren't willing to have. So I know that we're really appreciative that you're willing to talk to us and willing to be uncomfortable with us and talk about this. But there are so many other questions and topics that we didn't even get to broach, and I wish we could talk forever and all day about them. But like you said, like there is so much learning and unlearning that we have to do, and we need to keep up the momentum and remember that this isn't just one moment, that this is for the long haul. And so we're excited to continue conversations like these, maybe with you again, and definitely with other people, but we're super excited. And I just want to say thank you to everybody who watched this video. Please leave comments and questions in the blog post down below. I will link all of the resources that Taylor has posted, and I'll leave a little sign-up box for her newsletter. And we just can't wait to continue to have these conversations. So thank you for joining us today.
Yay, thank you. This was amazing. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Bye, guys.